Welcome back, Multi-Battle Conference. We are back with not just another returning team, but the finalists that we played against in the previous season, formerly known as the Sky Pillars. We've got Shannon and Furat of the Mediocre Mudkips. Go ahead and say hi, guys.
Hey there.
All right, so these guys have a pretty scary draft. They started off with the Ice Horse itself, one of my favorite Pokemon in the more recent VGC formats, followed by the Primarina, Riolu, Latios, Rotom Heat, Scrafty, Gorgeist, Rabombi, and finishing off the bottom of the draft with these two E tiers in Mudkip and Golurk, a couple of
Golett.
Golett. Sorry, yeah, a couple of mascots there.
Mhm.
So, guys, why don't you go ahead and tell us about your team?
Well, I was the one who was rooting for Ice Horse because I'm a serious Trick Room player. I love Trick Room, and Glastrier is pretty much in the format the ideal Trick Room sweeper of the moment, especially with this ability. It just allows it to just keep running through teams once Trick Room's up, and it can definitely take a hit as well.
All right. Next we have Primarina. It's actually a very, very solid type. I think every team should have at least one water type in his team. And it's also a fairy type, and it has a lot of actual moves which it shouldn't learn, but it learns them like Energy Ball, for example, and it's also very especially bulky and um, overall is a good resistance to fire, which Glastrier before has a weakness to, for example. So they add each other pretty well.
Then we have Riolu, who we used last season and realized it was amazing. It's one of the best follow me users, I'd argue, with its with its Eviolite and prankster coaching and this wide move pool that no one really looks at, but with prankster, it's pretty scary.
Yeah, next up we have Latios. It's a very fast one, which we needed because we have mostly pretty slow ones. So it's better to have like at least one thing that is faster than the others to outspeed in certain scenarios. Like you want to outspeed like the most cast, which is like pretty much 18 to 70, I would say, in that speed tier. So to have 110 is very nice in that regard. And it's also especially very strong because before we picked up Glastrier, which is physically very strong, we have now a special one who is also very strong with Primarina, of course, together. And like a dragon type to start off the fairy dragon core, which we didn't end it. Okay.
Then we have Radom Heat, aka Cookie, who I've used as kind of like on a fun team with all ghosts. And I count him as a ghost, obviously. And he would overheat ally switch and recover, or overheat ally switch, light, and then
Switching
thunder.
multi-battle,
Yeah.
can't use it.
No, but I can't remember what his moveset was. But everybody was very upset about Cookie because I'd throw him out and they'd be expecting all ghost types, and then they'd see Cookie and they'd be like, "Oh no."
Well, as next we have Scrafty. It's a very good fake out and intimidate user, who also rounds up our core of Psychic and Dark and Fighting. So we have that core already built, and it also is very tanky and can take a lot of hits physically and special, which is very great. And it's also a slower one who can also function in Trick Room.
Oh, sorry. Who are we at?
Gorgeist.
Gurgeist.
So Gorgeist is our Trick Room setter. He also fills out our grass core. I love him because he's a ghost type and because he also is a grass type. And with his multiple forms, it's nice to be able to play him either fast or slow.
Next, we have Ribombi. It's our fastest one in our team and also has a lot of tricky stuff to use and also function as a tailwind user and also can support the other attackers like Glastria, Latios, and Primarina pretty well with like stuff like fake tears and other things, which I'm not going to tell you.
And then we have the best Pokemon, Mudkip, the boy, the myth, the legend, Mudkip. I will Dynamax it. Mark my words, it will sweep.
If
you can take on the other one as well. You like both.
Yeah. Golett, I couldn't forget about my boy. I know we couldn't take Golett, but Golett was the next best thing. He is still here, and he's the spirit of the team.
Yeah.
I do like seeing both of those on there at the bottom, and you at least have double ghost like last time technically. So I like that. But yeah, a lot of good information. I think a lot of these picks are really nice. We graded you pretty highly on pretty much every metric down here. So let's get into the grades. So for drafting, we gave your draft a B plus. Your performance during the draft rather. First off, the Glastrier pick was just a clear identification of what the best Pokemon available is once it got down to you. You were kind of you were smushed in the middle there in the middle of the draft, which is not ideal. And frankly, we were kind of talking about this with Jared too. A lot of these middle teams ended up picking a lot of the Pokemon that we thought were actually the best in the S tier, like the Glastrier, like the Tapu Fini, like the Togekiss. So props to you and to those other teams for identifying those really high value picks that actually made it down to you, because I didn't expect any of those to make it to the middle of the draft at all. So it's you absolutely made the right decision in picking that first. After that is the Primarina. I don't think the Primarina is what I would have chosen right after the Glastrier, but I think it works well enough. It covers covers some of Glastrier's weaknesses pretty well. It hits fighting, rock, and fire type super effectively. So it can work pretty well. They're both fairly slow. Riolu, I actually really like as an early pick. Number one, because Follow Me users were going really fast. Number two, because it's something that you guys are really familiar with. And number three, because I think it actually works extremely well with the Glastrier, with the coaching, which is no doubt what you guys were going for. I know you guys liked using coaching quite a bit last season next to your Go Lurk and your Rillaboom. After that, you went for some pretty high value A tiers, which personally I might have tried to get before the Primarina, given how strong I think both of these are, especially the Latios. But it's also just it's good that you identified that they were still there and that they were some of the stronger options that you could have gotten out of A tier. Latios and Latias I think are they're a Pokemon that honestly could potentially be put in S tier. I think they might be kind of low S tiers, but I think they're extremely high value A tier. So as long as they're in the A tier, it's almost never a bad idea to pick up one of those. And the Rotom Heat is just the typing with Levitate is just so good. It's very versatile. It's just an all around solid Pokemon. Anybody that's played VGC has probably been annoyed by this thing at least once or twice. So I really like both of those picks. After that, you went with the Scrafty and Gourgeist to sort of bolster your Trick Room mode. I think the Gourgeist or whatever Trick Room setter you might want in this situation. I probably would have gone for that first. I might have. This is the main thing we felt that actually kept your draft out of that A range. Was that you picked a Trick Room setter very very late in the draft, which I think is not the best idea given that Glastrier is your one S tier and your biggest offensive powerhouse. I would have picked something maybe even of a higher tier. I think maybe a Gothitelle would have worked really really nicely with Glastrier. Even a couple of other B tier Trick Room setters, especially some slower ones or some that are that have an ability that make it immune to taunt or something, might have also been even better. Just to give you a more reliable Trick Room setter. I'm not super convinced that Gorgeist is really going to get the job done as well as you want your Trick Room setter to actually do it. So. I would have picked. I at least would have picked the Gorgeist before Scrafty personally. Probably. I might have gone for a more reliable Trick Room setter or a second Trick Room setter, so you have some variety, something like that. After that, you went with the Rabombi, which I think is a good pick, especially to save for the end, because I don't think it's on a whole lot of people's radars, and I think it's good for what you what you guys are trying to do here. It adds to your Tailwind mode. It's a really nice reliable Tailwind since it can be immune to Fake Out, and you can do some speed swap shenanigans, no doubt, with the Ice Horse. So you did a lot of good stuff in the draft. I think the only critiques I really have are that some of the A tiers, I think Latios and Rotom Heat I probably might have chosen before the Primarina, especially at least the Latios, but I also don't think that's a huge deal. The most significant thing is that you guys waited quite a while to get a Trick Room setter, and that was sort of the biggest gripe we had with this draft. So a lot of good stuff all around. So we did great. We gave you a relatively high grade. That was just the main thing that was keeping you out of that A or A minus range.
For Synergy, we gave you a B plus, pretty close to an A minus, honestly. But there were a couple of things that we noticed that were missing, particularly the Steel type from this team. The really high value Trick Room user, I think, is also something that could also possibly be missing. But the top, honestly, 1 through 8 are just really really work well together, all the way down. The Glastrier gets supported by the Primarina, by, like Matt had talked about, taking care of the fire types, the fighting types, the rock types, and then the Riolu being able to provide good redirection and coaching to already boost Glacier's massive attack and defense stats. That can be very beneficial. If you throw something like an Assault Vest onto Glastrier and you start going for coachings, it makes it almost unkillable in a lot of senses, especially if you come in with the Rabombi afterwards, start using stuff like Pollen Puff, start being able to pivot in and around with stuff like U-Turn, bringing in the Scrafty and kind of mitigating the damage a little bit more. You really have a lot of things that just enable the Glastrier to do all sorts of things. The Latios, I think, as well, is something that really works just in general with this team, because it has the ability to be very fast and offensive and being able to take out threats that might threaten some of the other things that are a little bit slower. Things like the Primarina and the Rotom Heat, even to a certain extent. Scrafty, obviously, is going to be taking a hit before it hits something back if it's not in Trick Room. So I think Latios is a decent way to try and, take out some of the threats. It has a 130 base special attack stat and 110 space speed. I mean, it's nothing to sneeze at, as far as, especially if you throw a boosting item on it like Choice Specs or a Life Orb, which could be fairly simple. Latios has great coverage. So like a lot of the synergy works well. Obviously, you have a great Fire, Water, Grass core. We had Gorgeist last season. I think as a Pokemon, it's very solid in draft because, as you guys alluded to, you guys get multiple forms. So you guys, can run it fast or slow, really bulky, so it's also a decent physical attacker with a decent move pool. Gets Poltergeist now, which I think is really good for it. So being able to, use coaching with that as well could be really beneficial. So I think overall, with your guys' synergy, we grade you guys a B plus. A couple of things, like we said, steel type would have been nice, and that we could nitpick that could have brought this up to like an A minus or even an A. But honestly, this is there's a lot of really good synergy here, and a lot of these Pokemon just benefit each other in a lot of different ways. So, good grade in my opinion.
Threat level, we bumped you up to an A minus. There's a lot of really threatening stuff on this draft. Not everything is super threatening, but I mean the Ice Horse is maybe one of the most threatening Pokemon available. Maybe the most threatening. Primarina is fairly threatening as well. It's pretty hard to take down, especially if you Dynamax it. It's got decent offenses, decent coverage. Riolu, I think, next to the Glastrier, or really having any kind of reliable coaching next to the Glastrier, it just makes that combination even more threatening, and to also threaten redirection at the same time is really huge. I think that's mostly where Riolu's threat comes from. It's especially because there's not a whole lot of physical attackers on the team. You're mostly just going to be going for coaching into that Glastrier. But Riolu is can be fairly bulky if you invest fully in one of the defenses and put a Eviolite on it. But it's still going to be taking a lot of damage from a lot of different things. So it's not the most reliable redirector, but it's you guys proved last year that you can really make it work and you can get what you need out of it, especially when you and I have no doubt that you're gonna do that again this season, especially when you have a threat like Glastrier next to it. Latios and Rotom Heat can also be very threatening. They both threaten boosting moves. The Latios with Calm Mind and Rotom Heat with Nasty Plot. They can both deal a pretty good amount of damage. They're both very good Dynamax candidates. They've got a lot. They're fairly versatile. They have a lot of things at their disposal. So they're if you guys are constantly building different sets, you can very easily keep a lot of players on their toes with both of those picks. The Scrafty's a little bit less threatening. It's more for disruption, for damage mitigation. Something as bulky as a Scrafty with Fake Out, Intimidate, Snarl, that kind of stuff, and okay damage output is more annoying than threatening. I would think. It's not going to be. Its threat level is really not the same as anything above it. Kind of the same with the Gourgeist. We found the Gourgeist to be good in situations where we needed it, but it's not too offensive. It's not really all that threatening damage wise or disruption wise. It's mostly just there for Trick Room and some support. Rabombi, I think, out of the bottom half of your draft, is probably the most threatening thing here, mostly because it's just it's so disruptive and hard to stop, especially because you can't fake it out and because it's so fast. So it's very easy for it to support your team with something like Tailwind and Fake Tears, or you don't even know if it's going to be supporting like that or if it's going to be trying to set up a Quiver Dance or something. So it's a little bit unassuming. Its stats are not all that great outside of its speed, which I think might lead some people to underestimate it. But I actually have some faith that it can be a serious threat on this team. So you have a decent amount of threats. There are some holes. I think the Riolu's not quite as threatening if it's redirecting next to something other than the Glastrier. The Scrafty and the Gourgeist hold back your threat level a little bit, but not too much. There's enough here that's really scary for your opponents to go up against enough stuff that you really need to prep hard for, that we gave you an A- in threat level.
I think it's also worth mentioning too that this is the highest grade that we've given that hasn't been the Sadistic Seniors A+. We've given a lot of B pluses in the threat level. So I think this is the second highest grade that we've given in threat level. This is this A-. So
yeah, everybody besides you guys and the seniors have gotten somewhere in the B or C range.
Yeah. So honestly, really good job and really threatening team. For versatility, we gave you a B+ as well. We think that a lot of this stuff is very solid. You have a lot of different versatility here. I think you guys proved last season that with Pokemon that may only have one or two sets, you guys can really maximize the versatility in those sets. You know which ones to bring in very crucial moments. So I think that matters a lot, even for things like Rotom Heat, where it's like there's a couple of things you can really do with it, a nasty plot or stuff like that. I think you guys would all, for the most part, have shown that you guys typically will choose the right set for the right matchup, even if it's only a couple of sets that you can run. So like with Primarina, it's like Life Orb, or it's Throat Spray, it can be like a Room Service, one of those things. And Primarina, you guys, whichever one is going to be the most beneficial, that's the one that's coming out. The only thing that we have really a knock on this at all is that I think that your guys' versatility could have gone up a lot more had you guys taken another Trick Room user and didn't make it strictly on Gourgeist to set up the Trick Room, because a lot of your guys' threats really thrive in it, particularly the Primarina and the Glastrier. The Rotom Heat even, I mean, if you feel that thing bulky, it has an 86 base speed, but a lot of things can be trained to go faster than it if you put no speed investment into it. So even it could do decent in Trick Room. I do like the Rabombi pairing a lot as well, but I think a lot of the times, what's the best way to put this? I think that it's gonna be getting in the way a lot more than it's gonna do one thing and then you're gonna be like, all right, man, I hope this thing goes away soon because we need to continue to put pressure out. So like I think the ability that it has to U-turn out is very helpful, but it's just one of those things where I wonder if there could have been something more beneficial than the Rabombi. Even though it has so many versatile options, it's a good Pokemon that seems a little bit misplaced on the team a little bit. And I just wonder if there was something else that could be there. Maybe like a Steel type, how we alluded to before, or like a really, really good Trick Room user that's a little bit more reliable than Gourgeist, because we found that with Gourgeist, it was a fantastic backup Trick Room sweeper. Like if we wanted to have it in the back to try and get it set up a second time. But
even then, it wasn't really much of a sweeper. It was more like Scrafty in that it helped with your damage output, but it's not the thing that was sweeping.
Yeah. But overall, I think there's enough versatility here to really make your sets varied on a week-to-week basis and make it so that way there can be a very clear optimal set that you guys should bring in each matchup. And like I said, you guys are more than good enough players to be able to bring the right set on a week-to-week basis. So with that said, I mean, I think a B+ is more than fair to give you guys on the versatility range, even if some of the stuff like last year seems like, just pick up a KO and just start going, But overall, you ended up with a B+. I think it's a more than above average draft here. Very, very threatening. It can do a lot of things. If you guys are looking to make a deep playoff run again, which I'm sure you guys are, this is absolutely a team that can help you guys do that. It's going to put you into the position to just do well overall in this league. So glad to see that you guys were able to draft consistently another really good team, so that way you guys can do well. Because a lot of times that's people tend to struggle a little bit on that end a little bit. Like they have the ability to play, they know on a game-to-game basis and how to prep, but sometimes you accidentally just come into a good team. I think who was it? The Steven Googe. What was their team name? The Skarmories?
Yeah.
The Skarmories were a good indication of that last season. They came the season before last. They inherited a decent team, and they piloted it successfully and did a really good job getting into playoffs and proved themselves to be very good players. And then they came in the next season and drafted a very below average team, and that made it to where they couldn't really do anything. So you guys drafted a great team last season, piloted it all the way to finals, were dominant in the regular season, were dominant in the playoffs, and you guys are coming back again, drafting another very good team. So can't wait to see what you guys do here.
Yeah. Moving on to the pros. First one we have here, Ice Horse. Just it's Ice Horse. It's amazing. I love it. It's one of my favorite Pokemon of VGC. I've said for a long time in Series 7, if you're not running the Ice Horse, you're probably throwing. It's one of those Pokemon that just, even when you know what your opponent's doing with it, which you do because it just does the same thing, it's just a big, bulky, slow, physical sweeper. Um, Even when you know that's what it's going to do, it can still be very hard to stop. And that can sometimes be just as powerful as keeping your opponent on their toes as far as what you're going to do. You also have a really excellent redirector for it. Like I mentioned when I was going over your threat level, a reliable coaching next to a Pokemon as powerful as Glastrier just helps it do what it does even better. And like I said, since it's one of those Pokemon that it's hard to stop even if you know what it's going to do, the coaching just makes it even harder to stop, again, even when you know what it's going to do. Third one is your A tier picks. You have very high value A tier picks, especially the Latios. I think even though the Latios and Latias both got picked this season, in some sense, I think they might even be a little bit overlooked. Even like they both got picked in the first half of the draft, but like they're these 600 BST Pokemon with a decent stat distribution. More than decent. I mean, 130 base special attack and 110 speed is amazing, and the bulk is still there. It still has good natural bulk, and they're I think even more powerful than they were before. Maybe even more powerful than their megas used to be. Now that we have Dynamax, and with all of the new coverage that Latios and Latias have now, they have like Mystical Fire and Air Slash and Aura Sphere, maybe one or two other things, but they get so many more tools that they didn't have before, and I think as A tier picks, they're really serious steals. They're really really good. Primarina and Rotom Heat also working very well together. Also, even individually, very high value A tier picks. Primarina has had a lot of success this past season, or this past year rather. In VGC, it's a very strong Dynamax option. Rotom Heat, same thing. I think a lot of the time it can be a little bit of a sleeper pick sometimes that people don't really prep for all that much in VGC. It's been a really nice counter to things like Sun. It started popping up in early Series 7 as a Metagross counter, and it's something that's really hard to deal with because it just has a really good typing and it can do a lot of really good things. I think you guys have some serious value from those A tiers. And again, very solid Fire, Water, Grass core. I'm not going to go over the Rotom and the Primarina again. They're very good together. And the Gourgeist, it would be nice if you guys had a better grass type. We've got some experience as Gourgeist being the main grass type on our draft. We did that last season. It was a little bit tough to make it work frequently, and I think it can maybe weaken your core a little bit if that's the grass type you're relying on. But I think the Rotom and the Primarina are at least they should be good enough to pick up some of the slack, even where Gourgeist is lacking. And that's not to say Gourgeist is bad. Like it can put in some serious work. It's got pretty decent stats. It's gonna work well with the Primarina and the Latios for sure, and especially since Primarina has a little bit of extra type synergy with it, helping to get rid of some of those dark types. So. Yeah, it's not all bad. I think it's just sometimes a little bit difficult to make use of it frequently. I think that's the main thing we found with Gourgeist, but still a very good Fire, Water, Grass core, especially with those two A tiers.
For the cons, we kind of went over this stuff already, so I don't want to beat a dead horse.
Matt.
Not a dead horse, I should say, in this case. But the last year, I really wish there was more Trick Room support for it, just because it's such a great Pokemon. So grabbing a really high value Trick Room user, like a Mimikyu or a Bronzong even, like would have been really really good. So I think a little bit disappointing that you guys didn't grab something like that. And next, I mean, your physical attackers, it's just basically Glastrier. You know, Scrafty is okay. I've done some weird stuff with Scrafty before, like with old swagger stuff that you could do. But honestly, its attack stat is a little bit underwhelming. It's most like what Matt said. It's a pest. It has 115 in its defenses. It has a decent typing. Obviously, its types for weak to fairy, but outside of that, like it takes hits pretty well, and it resists a decent amount of things. So I think in general, the Scrafty is, while it's a physical attacker, it's more of a nuisance than anything. So the Riolu, I wish, like, on your guys' last team, there were a decent amount of things that could take the coaching, like the Rillaboom, like the Golurk, and it seems like it's more just confined only to the Glastrier this time. While we like it, we would just like to see a little bit more variable, a couple more different
variability.
Yeah, variability to some of the mons that you guys have as far as being able to use this, just like you guys had last season. And then the next one is Gorgeist. While we like it, and in its versatility, a lot of the times it's going to be forced to be its normal Trick Room bulky setter self. You do have the ability to go fast on it. I believe we ran Choice Scarf Gorgeist once before. So
I think so.
Yeah, because it can be pretty fast. So I mean, I understand that Gorgeist can do a lot of different things, but I think because you only have one Trick Room user, 8 times out of 10, it's gonna come as its large form, or its XL form, I should say, to set up Trick Room. So that's pretty much some of the main things that we had is just mostly having to do with Glastrier and just how good it can be, and not taking full advantage of it. But I think you guys have a good team that can take advantage of it and do other things that are a little bit more versatile than a team that just straight up goes for the Glastrier.
Yeah.
Okay, so that finishes up the pros and cons and our report card for the most part. We're going to jump right into a couple of questions. First question to you guys going, Matt, we talked about it in the beginning. You guys were 10th, I believe, in the draft order. Did you guys think that last year was going to be there at all? I know that in the chat, you guys were talking about Kartana in the beginning. What's the story about this first pick?
Shannon. Go on.
Sorry, I'm in a match.
No problem. You want to take it, Furat? It's fine.
As you like.
Yeah, what's the story?
I
What's the story behind the Glastrier?
Yeah.
You're the other part of this as well.
Yeah.
Shannon's in a game.
So,
Let's give her a chance here.
Okay. First of all, we wanted to pick Katana, which I was pushing to pick it, but then we end up seeing that Glastrier wasn't picked until 10, and we was like, it should have been the first like 3 or 4 picks we were expecting it to go. So we had to debate again about it if we should pick it or not, and we end up picking it because it's we can't like let it go and don't pick it at all. Like it's very much stronger than Katana, so I couldn't argue to Shannon to pick it, and we end up with the Ice Horse. So yeah.
Honestly, it's a great Pokemon.
Yeah, I mean, you guys made the right decision.
Yeah, definitely. By the way, Shannon, at any point, if you're ready to answer a question, just let us know, and we'll shoot it to you. But we don't want you to have to divert your attention too much away from this if you don't have to.
I wasn't listening to the question. I can probably do it now.
Okay, no problem.
Sure, I'm gonna lose this.
She is playing in the women's tournament right now, so we want to give her a little bit of leeway.
Yes, she's being a heck of a trooper doing both of these at the same time. My God, you're a god, Shannon. Jeez. All right. So we criticized you guys a little bit for this. Why did you guys take so long to take a Trick Room sweeper or a Trick Room setter? I'm sorry.
Well, that was because of Furat. I wanted it earlier. I really wanted him like the 5th pick. What?
Everything is Furat's fault.
Yeah, everything is because of me. Yeah. Um, um, First of all, I thought that good guys wouldn't get picked like very past in the draft, like 8 or 9 maybe.
Mhm.
So I thought, yeah, I said to Shannon, yeah, we can chill on it and pick it later if you want the good guys. And we thought about picking up Mimikyu, but I think it got picked in the 5th round, something like that.
Mhm.
And it was gone pretty fast, so we couldn't pick it at all. If you could have picked Mimikyu, we would have picked it way earlier, like in the 6th or 5th pick, I believe. We would have picked it there. But we saw that the most Trick Room setter we were initially going for were gone. So we thought about let us pick a Trick Room setter is a bit weaker, but we can still pick other mods which can provide other um, stuff which we don't always just have to rely on Glastrier, like the Rotom Heat, the Scrafty, which can provide other stuff to help the team, like not only the Trick Room. Yeah,
Yeah. I think
and
that's
I don't like to run Trick Room at all, so I'm not familiar with Trick Room. Yeah,
Let me ask a question for just personal
yeah,
one to you. Have you
yeah.
used Glastrier at all in VGC?
No, I never
Woo,
used it. So.
man. You're going to fall in love, buddy. You're going to fall in love. Because that thing gets going, and it just keeps going. So, yeah, I think that's one of the things that me and Matt were talking about too, is that you don't understand how strong it is until you actually see it and
Yeah,
use it, because it is a
yeah.
monster, a monster.
I'm actually kind of surprised they made this Pokemon like this.
Yeah, just min max the stats like
Yeah,
to the absolute highest level. Yeah.
it's ridiculous.
Okay. So the next question is, we kind of saw that you guys didn't quite finish the fantasy core with the fairy and dragon steel because you guys are missing the steel type. Uh, why
Yeah.
not pick up a steel type somewhere in the draft?
So we had some steel types in our mind to pick, but the most of them got picked pretty early, and so we end up without a steel type. Um, I think that the most steel type which were left at the end wouldn't have fit our team pretty well. Like we would have had to sacrifice one of our mons, which we picked now, to get a steel type, which I felt like wouldn't be that great to pick just to have a steel type, like which can't have a specific role to go through. Like if you want to pick a mon, I first check out if it has like something which helps the team, not
Mm-hmm.
not as the type
Mm-hmm.
in the first place. Like I mean, you can just pick mons who have a good typing, but if they don't work together, it's pretty useless as well. Like
Absolutely.
if they don't help each other and work together, you can have a water, grass, fire type, but then they don't work together and it just doesn't bring you forward.
Mm-hmm.
Like yeah, so that was the idea behind that,
Yeah, I
to
imagine
not pick
it's
a steel type. Yeah,
yeah. I imagine it was probably a little bit difficult to find a steel type uh, that really fit with everything here as they were getting
yeah,
picked over because there's not a lot left. There's something like Aegislash or Bisharp I think are some of the only ones left in B tier, and then I guess you could have gone up to A tier for something like a Magnezone or Lucario, but yeah, you already have the Riolu, so maybe
Yeah.
Lucario's, and then you're spending more points for that anyway. So I suppose that's fair, even though like ideally a nice steel type that works well with both the Primarina and Latios is would be nice. If there wasn't something available that's good enough, then maybe your other picks were worth it.
Yeah, and to kind of continue on that point too. I think a really good steel type probably would have been in the A tier. I don't think you would have found a lot of things in B or C tier. And one of the things that Matt and I noticed was if you're going to replace any of these A tiers, Rotom Heat and Primarina are likely the most likely candidates. Latios too, but I really like Latios just in general on this team. There were really no good B tier fire types after a certain point.
Yeah.
Very few.
And yeah, there were very few. And then same with water types in the B and C tiers. So I think spending those high points to grab very solid fire and water types was actually very smart in general. Because there didn't seem to be as many as people thought. I mean, we got Magmortar in B tier. We think that's pretty much one of the better fire types that was in B tier left. And I mean, I think Rotom Heat is significantly better than Magmortar and at least what its fire typing and what it's able to do offensively and defensively. So, definitely kudos to you guys for going for those. But so it's a little bit tough. I definitely understand that. But I just kind of wanted to know why you didn't finish off that core. And then real quick, just both of you, if you guys want to answer these questions. The first one is Pokemon that you drafted that you're excited to be using.
Yeah, definitely the Latios. I never used it before actually, so I'm excited to use it with this big amount of move pool which it provides, and it pretty much learns every type of move like grass, fire, water. I believe electric too. Electric types. You learn Thunderbolt, I think. And he also learns very much supportive moves, which also can help Glastrier, for example. So you always have to guess if it is more supportive or more offensive set for the battle. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be excited to use that too. I'm looking forward to seeing those two in action on this team in the potatoes with the Latias.
Shannon, how about you? Pokemon that you're excited to use?
Aside from Mudkip, is Ice Horse. I love Ice Horse. I actually use it quite often.
Yeah.
As a huge fan of Trick Room, so I'm very excited to have the ability to roll teams.
Nice.
Absolutely.
All right, and next question is underrated member of the team that the league or other people might be taking or might be underrating and undervaluing.
I think it's the Ryolu, but at the same time, I think very much people in the league know that it's pretty nice. At the same time, like it's underrated, but at the same time, I don't think it's underrated. Like it has a lot of stuff which we didn't even use last season, I think. Like for example, the finals where we used substitute, I think that was very nice. Like it was a very nice idea, like to do with Ryolu because you can use it as a protect at the same time and have let people guess what you are doing now. Are you going to press coaching? Are you going to press substitute? Are you going to go for like feint stuff? And also it has like moves which can pop the Glastria's weakness policy.
Oh, yep.
Which is also very nice.
Yeah, definitely.
With priority.
I think Ryolu is one of those Pokemon where if you know, you know.
Yeah.
And if you don't, then you just look at it and you're like, I don't get it. What's the point of taking this Mon? But if you know about Ryolu, you're like, oh yeah, I got to give that thing respect. So I agree with your assessment on that. And Shannon, how about you? What's an underrated Pokemon?
I think it's gonna be Ryolu. Y'all sleeping on our our boy.
You guys love that thing.
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's one of those. It's one of those Pokemon that if you paid attention at all last season, you probably get it. Otherwise, yeah, I think it's possible that any new players or people who were not paying as much attention last season are not gonna they're not gonna give it the respect it deserves.
Yeah. All right, and final question to wrap this up. What are your guys' expectations this season?
Imagine playing for fun right now. I don't want to play for fun. I just want to win right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
This isn't fun. It's work.
Yeah, it's work
It's fun to
make
win.
those sets. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, look, you guys have definitely a very capable team that can definitely rack up a lot of wins this season. So,
Shannon, what do you think? Are you more on board with Furat, or are you still kind of in the having fun camp?
Sorry, I just lost my match. Sorry. I'm gonna say I want to have fun. I don't really. I have a lot of schoolwork right now, so I'm just kind of doing this as a kind of side thing at the moment.
Well, we'll still see you in playoffs, I'm sure.
Yes.
Hopefully.
Yeah, don't worry.
That'll be
I will
fun.
make the sets. I will make the sets work.
It's too bad we can't
Don't
go
worry.
against each other in finals.
Oh, we can.
I thought we're in the same.
Yeah, that doesn't matter.
Well,
this
I mean,
time.
Oh yeah,
in
that's
finals.
right. That's right.
We'll see.
We'll see. Oh,
But does it actually work? Does it actually work that we can meet in finals? Because it's more like it's like the order is 1 to 8,
Yes.
and which it's actually could work, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
definitely.
So yeah, you can face anybody from any division at any point in the playoffs, depending
okay.
on how the records break down. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, it's gonna be fun competing with you guys again. You guys are great players, fantastic league members. Can't wait for this season. It's gonna be great.
Yeah. Good luck as well.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you again for joining us, and good luck this season.
Thank you.
Thank you.